Nasty decided to join the party. Hi, Kyle.
Your true name was spoken.
Nice. Is this gonna devolve into an Addison Bob space jam? 2-hour space jam? All right, cool.
What time is it?
It's time to get ill. Sweetness.
Okay, so
This is me talking. Checkity check, check, check. Here at the Smokity Stack.
Check, 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 check.
So, when you write a song,
Yeah. Break it down for us,
no,
Bob.
finish that thought.
Do you guys each want to do a quick snippet of a tune real
We
quick?
have to, yeah.
Just whatever.
Bob, you want to go first?
You go first.
Bob's going to need a half hour to think of a song to play.
I'm coming back out of it. It'll be better.
I'll just do a cover.
Yeah. Cool. How are we looking on Addison there? Keep going. That's pretty.
So when you played Alabama by Neil Young, what was your songwriting process?
It starts with being extremely derivative to the point where you're just always trying to be someone else.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't show your
Oh,
true face.
yeah.
Whatever you do.
Oh no.
Check, check. We're talking
We're
about
checkity
stuff.
checking.
Wow.
Yeah, we're definitely
Yeah,
doing
here's
that.
everything we need to talk about.
There's going to be songwriting mentioned this evening.
There's going
Bob's
to be
got a
words
Chipson.
talked.
Yep. We're going to do some speaking. Do you guys have any bands that you don't like that everyone else likes?
Beth,
It's been my favorite question lately.
But I can't come home right now. Me and the
Yeah.
boys are playing. And we just can't find the sand.
Yo. Yep. I mean, powers of deduction aside, feel free to tap.
Have away, little guy.
Have away, little guy.
About 3 minutes out here. We're just chilling hard.
We got Scott in the building.
What have you guys been listening to lately?
Thin Lizzy this weekend.
Thin Lizzy, crazy.
Is that your lip service to Irishness?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's up?
Get up
Yeah.
on it when you're talking.
Sure.
All right.
Well,
Okay, Thin Lizzy.
yeah. Thin Lizzy. Been falling back into listening to a lot of like Blaze Foley. Tom Waits stuff has been re-emerging in my daily spins. Yeah, maybe a few smatterings of others here and there. Smattering.
Bob, what you been spinning?
I don't know. Today, I guess I listened to Harvest and some Pharoah Sanders, and
Nice.
that's all I had time for.
That's good
Because I
stuff.
slept in. So yeah,
Pharoah Sanders is cool.
every day is different, and I forget the one before it, so it makes it real easy.
It's the way she rolls.
Everything's new.
Give her a couple more minutes here and we'll get started.
James, what have you been listening to lately?
Yeah.
A lot of Sturgill Simpson's been in the mix. Oh man, who else have I been on? Bunch of stuff. I don't know, 70s funk stuff, that kind of thing.
Anybody particular with the 70s funk thing?
Oh man, well James Brown has been happening a lot. I got a best of just recently. Oh, I just got So Far, Crosby, Stills, Nash and
nice.
Young at CDs for Change for
Is
like
that the-
$16.
Is that the one with like the white
Uh-huh.
cover that with the
Joni-
Joni drawing on it?
Joni did it, yeah. And then just before that, I found a record there for $4 that I liked the art of, and I was like, hold up, Joni Mitchell did this too.
Have you
It
ever
was,
seen
LA Express.
Yeah, it's
That was
fun.
your backing band.
Yeah,
Miles
yeah.
Miles.
I did it because I had to look
Oh
them
yeah,
up.
but I'm supposed to talk into this thing.
Here we go.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Smokestack Songwriters Sessions. Thanks for coming out. We've got a super cool event. Super glad to have Addison and Bob with us this month. Yeah, thanks to the Dubuque Area Arts Collective for hosting and the Smokestack. So basically, I'll get right into it. How today is going to work is Bob and Addison are both songwriters, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves in just a second here. But basically, we're going to take some time to talk about and ask some questions about the songwriting process, as well as showcase a few of their tunes. So they're going to give a little background on a tune and then play it, and then we'll open stuff up for questions at the end of that, or comments, or if you want to just add anything. There's going to be a wireless microphone up here. Feel free to just come on up and grab that and ask a question to either of the fellas after a tune. Yeah, I think that's the whole shebang. So please don't be afraid to come on up and share thoughts or ask questions. Yeah, with that, I will let you guys introduce yourselves here. Addie, you want to go first?
Well, sure. Well, thanks, James, and shout out to the Dubuque Area Arts Collective for having this event and having me be a part of it. Yeah, it's great being able to sit up here with a couple people that I very much admire musically and personally. I consider you both friends. And yeah, I don't know. My name's Addison. I always like kind of grew up with music in the house. My mom has a very wide range of stuff that she would listen to, and then I kind of picked up on a thing or two here and there. Started playing music, I would say, you know, I mean, I started on the cello, but I mean, like, around the house when I was, like, 3, 4, 5, like, I don't know, my mom and I would just, like, come up with, like, random songs just, like, off the cuff to just kind of sing, like, a cappella just as kind of a joke. Yeah, I don't know. I started playing cello in, like, 4th grade and stopped that after about a year, and then got a guitar, but then kind of, you know, lost interest until I was about in high school. And then, I started just learning guitar and, specifically focused on a lot of lead guitar playing, because every, high school kid who plays guitar wants to shred because they look cool. But yeah, after, a couple years, like, I just really started delving into songwriting and lyrics. My Uncle Chuck, and, as well as my mom, but my Uncle Chuck in particular, he wrote, like, hundreds and hundreds of songs all growing up. And whenever we would see him at, like, any family gathering, we would always, sing his songs and write and stuff like that. And so he was, like, a main inspiration for my songwriting, my interest in, just, like, we kind of shared this, we shared a lot of this, similar ways of looking at the world and music, but we both sort of looked at, music as sort of a vehicle for lyrics. And yeah, so I'm very lyrically driven. And yeah, I guess, I'm just...
Who are some specific artists or bands that you kind of are fundamental to you?
Fundamental to me. Let's say Neil Young is a big one. Tom Waits, Townes Van Zandt. I went through a big Bob Dylan phase. Blaze Foley. I know I was talking about that earlier. A lot of people like Joni, a lot of people of like the sort of beatnik poet era of music in the early, late 60s into the early 70s. And then, like a lot of, I guess, like 90s alt people too. But those are kind of some of the more, I would say fundamental. Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of the Grateful Dead, so a lot of the lyrics of Robert Hunter are also a big inspiration to me as well.
Bob?
Yo. Yeah, I don't know. I've been writing stuff for a long time. The oldest tape I have of me making up songs is from 1984. So I don't know. Since I was like 5 or 7 or something, I've just kind of always been making stuff up, and also a big component of it is, I guess, recording. So I've always been into home recording throughout the 90s, 4-track cassette decks, stuff like that. And that's kind of how I accumulated songs, all my writing, because, I don't know, I didn't really care about playing out when I was a kid as much. And, it was more about, you're talking about how it's a vehicle for lyrics. And for me, the whole, writing a song was a way to make a tape, I think, at a point when I was young. But I think it's also, like, the time and place you grow up in. And, I turned 14 when, like, Nirvana came around. So everyone started a band right away. It was, like, one of those, like, Beatles-type moments in, white suburban popular culture or whatever. And, I don't know. I started with saxophone when I was a little kid because my parents just picked up that I was always kind of feeling music. They've been supportive their whole lives, even though neither of them play music, but they come from families with touring musicians and stuff, so they kind of got it. And per conversation we had right before this, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young so far, that would be like a fundamental thing growing up just because of my mom having it in the house. Joni Mitchell, a huge influence, especially when I got older and studying jazz at school and stuff like that. And that being like a bridge between songwriting and folk vibes and doing jazz and modern kind of harmonic things and stuff like that. I'm a total nerd. I'll talk music theory with you all day. I'll try not to do it tonight.
No, please do. Did you go to school for music?
I did, but I didn't finish school for music.
Sure.
Yeah, I did finish school eventually, But no, yeah, it was like my scholarship through the years was to play upright bass. So and jazz has always been like a focus for me. Like my twin poles were like underground kind of noise punk stuff and jazz. So somehow I ended up being a person who was like in a country rock band and wrote lots of indie rock songs over the years, despite my interest not really falling into structure or lyrics. You know, so for me the process is kind of like automatic writing or something. You know, if something happens, it happens, and then it's there. You can finesse it later, but you know, either something kind of comes out fully formed or I'm not bothering with it. Maybe that's just me being lazy. I'm not sure. But yeah.
Sweet. Okay, cool. Well, that's Addison and Bob. Just real quick, too, then, do you guys have music out anywhere, or are you in any bands or anything?
Should I start?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you looked at me.
Yeah.
Don't look at me. I have a record coming out in a few months under my own name that actually falls within the rubric of what we're doing tonight. Have another LP coming out soon with Christina Castaneda from Dubuque, a duo of ours called Arc Numbers. I think that's all that's on the release schedule this year. And yeah, like, you know, under my own name or under BBJR is all kinds of stuff online, on streaming, on Bandcamp, whatever. Everything from the most dissonant stuff to literally playing Over the Rainbow, for example.
Awesome. Cool.
So I don't have any records out. I've arguably maybe done like complete recordings of only a few songs of mine. It's something that I desperately need to do, and I've been told this for years. I've got a music video out that I made probably right after the pandemic hit. That was filmed nearby here at Council Hill Station. I don't know. It's weird. Like, I've got a couple songs that I've written for people that they have just liked enough to share it. But yeah, so this year I'm gonna make it a goal to actually get my stuff recorded.
Nice.
I write just like it's weird. I just write so much that I kind of just forget that I probably need to just take a breath and do something with the stuff I have. As far as bands go, actually, Bob and I have been in a couple projects together, mostly just, you know, post-pandemic, like, let's just do covers of songs that we like type stuff. And then right now I've got, besides my solo stuff, I've got a band called Marzipan Mailbox. We are, you know, kind of like, you know, inspired by a lot of the artists that, you know, I guess like I am mostly inspired by, and then I ran into those guys and met them maybe, you know, a year and a half or so ago, and we shared a lot of taste with, you know, jam bands, punk rock, hard rock. And yeah, so we sort of do like this sort of like harder version of jam band type stuff, and it's all original stuff. And then we have stuff on Bandcamp. And then we're going to try to get into the studio here in the next couple months and get some stuff figured out. So, yeah.
Awesome. Sweet. Cool. That's Bob and Addison. Let's get to the business here. I just want to reiterate, this is kind of be an open discussion format after these guys will kind of trade off playing tunes after they explain the songwriting process for each song. And afterwards, if you have questions or thoughts at all, there's a microphone up here. If somebody wants to come up and grab that, you can pass it around, or we can leave it up here, whatever works for folks. But yeah, Addison, you want to get her started?
I guess I can.
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, so I've got a large book beneath my feet full of original stuff, and so I was trying to figure out what to play. I don't know. I kind of was thinking when I first started writing songs, it was around 2015, 2016, and there was like a lot going on around that time in this country. And then I usually wrote like a lot of like politically driven stuff. And then took a break up until a couple years ago when Roe v. Wade was overturned. And then I was on my way to a Dead & Company concert when I found out. And when I came back from that weekend, I sat down and wrote this out. It was like the first political song I'd written in probably 4 years. But anyway, yeah, so this song is called Fictitious Freedom. This song is called Fictitious Freedom. Corporations curtain calling, causing careless cravings of consumption in the cascade, fading in a tidal wave, praying for my soul to save, pulled down to my dying grave, prying and denying all my duties for the life I laid, living for the little things and laughing at the light it brings, bringing lots of kerosene, forcing fire to my dreams. It seems to me this light I see is nothing but serenity, serving all the undeserving freaks of personality. Birds adorned in suits of blue are pulling brothers from their shoes, shining and dividing folks who are doing all that they can do. From me to you, it's set in stone, the system built for those who own, that separates those who take and those who own from those who don't. Driving boxcars to the stars, shooting to the nearest bar to drown their fabled battle scars inside a Jim Beam's reservoir. Owners eating caviar and riding in expensive cars with candles made of crystal breeze. They blow away from those in need. Freedom feels a bit fictitious, very vague and very vicious, riding on the line of some resistance, gone in any instant. Heads of state, stop and wait till songs of sanctimonious fate fester in the fuselage of all the ways we can't escape this lining of gold, and doing what we're told. These days of old are folding, holding on to something not worth repeating as we're treating wisdom like some dumb bubblegum fever dream kind of feeling. While talking heads of faith and lies laugh about the mass supply of folks that they have pacified and gods that they have crucified, this system's sacrificial tongue, sending soldiers old and young to live and breathe, fight and die in foreign sands under foreign skies. You can call it what you will, but it won't help you pay your bills. Don't sit back and let it ride. Don't kneel down or run and hide. It's up to you, this working crew, doing all that you can do to stop and topple this old show before there's nowhere else to go. Well, it's up to you, this working crew, doing all that you can do to stop and topple this old show before there's nowhere else to go. Thanks.
I've got a question for you for sure. So there's this kind of, as a songwriter myself, I think a lot about my influences as I'm writing, and you've got like the almost like a Dylan cadence going there, meets like a CSN guitar part, which is probably not how you were thinking about it when you wrote it. But I guess my question is, how often do you think constructively about, do you like pick and choose influences to add in moments, or do you think like that at all? Do you think, oh, let me do something that sounds kind of like this person here, or do you just kind of try to let it flow?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I usually don't think of things quite like that. Actually, with that song, I didn't really have any. I guess now that you mentioned that, it was like the way that I probably go about it is I let it kind of just like come out of me, and then probably subconsciously various influences come out. But I didn't even write that song with the intention of even putting guitar or playing it out. Actually, I wrote that as a potential rap song to give someone else to sing.
Wow.
And then I don't know. I just kind of sat with it and kept going over the lyrics. And I was I never really like to boast or anything, but I was pretty proud of the outcome of those lyrics. And I'm just like, well, I could ask somebody else to perform this song, or I could just do it myself. But I can definitely see how maybe subconsciously there would be various influences that would pretty much just like come out, regardless of if I intend them to or not.
It's that musical backbone stuff,
Yeah,
like we were
right.
talking about for sure. Yeah.
It's just sort of built into you.
Cool. Yeah. Anybody have any questions, thoughts? Feel free to come up, grab the mic.
How do you remember all those words? It's a lot of words, bud.
I've played that out a lot. Actually, I do have my book open underneath over here. But I've just that song took me a long time to I guess learn how to breathe while I'm singing that song, because when I was first singing it the first couple times, I would like essentially choke myself out just trying to get all those words out. And that's something that I tend to I like to say a lot. With my songs, but I don't know. I guess it just comes from playing it often enough, and like having that sort of that fire in that song of like that place that it came from.
As a tangential question, so you have to practice then, right? Like what's the difference between? I'm just thinking about when you're in a band and everyone's accountable for each other, ideally, and you're forcing practice to happen, but like if you're by yourself, what are you doing to get your breath control down? Like that takes a different kind of discipline, I think. Like for me, I was able to create that simply by recording, right? Like I don't sit around and run my tunes. I don't even know what I'm going to do in 5 minutes, but like that holds me accountable is like this machine, right? So what do you just have some self-discipline or something?
I mean, I'm kind of with you on that, though. I mean, I really don't sit at home and practice my songs. Right. I mean, if I'm doing band stuff, it's like you're forced to, you have to get together and you're forced to, be accountable for one another. But with me and like at least songs like that, I guess like I've sort of just honestly learned by doing and learned, taught myself. Like I don't know, I've never like really had like any formal voice training or breath training or anything like that. So it's always like every time I play out live and I'm able to, that's kind of where I teach myself is just like, putting a fire under myself and throwing myself to the wolves and, maybe learning by messing up a time or two. And that's, that seems to be honestly the most effective way.
It's a good motivator.
Yeah, it's a good motivator. Messing up is a huge motivator, and that I would love to mess up every time that I play in the future as well, because, messing up is the best way to learn. Yeah.
Get you working. With such a lyrically dense tune, you say you do a ton of writing, and I know what kind of output we're looking at. You do actually do a ton of writing. How long do you take to put like lyrics like that together? Did you just kind of sit down and do that, or was that like a long process?
At least for me, I don't like to spend more than one writing session writing a song.
That's great.
I just can't do it. I need to get what I need. Like when I feel like sort of inspired to, like with this song, for example, and a lot of, most of my other songs, when I start writing them, I will not, I can't rest until that thing is done. And that's just the way that I guess my brain works with that. So like with that, I think I took like just an afternoon and just sat there and worked until it was done. And that's just, honestly, the way that I go about writing most things is I just do it all in one session. Sometimes it takes a few hours. Sometimes it takes 20 minutes. Sometimes it takes even less, sometimes it takes even more, but that just means either I'll be sitting where I'm sitting a lot less, or I'll be sitting where I'm sitting for a very long time.
Sweet.
Yeah.
As part of the density of the lyrics is the internal rhyme.
Mm.
Is that something you do frequently, or is that just did that just dawn on you for this tune, or is that a scheme that you often go to?
No, yeah, I love that question. For me, it has happened with other songs. It's something that I might touch on in a song or two here and there. It's not something I really do a lot of. That song's kind of just started off, like I said, like as a potential rap song for someone else to sing. So I was kind of just like trying to keep the lyrics and the rhyme structure in sort of this sort of like rhythmic, structural way. Just with that, with that in mind. But yeah, I guess it sort of just a lot of times just kind of comes out subconsciously. I don't really understand where it comes from, to be honest. But yeah, sometimes it comes out in that form and in that way, and sometimes it doesn't. I hope that answers your question. Okay, cool.
Bob, let's trade over to you.
Okay. Flip a coin. Pick a 1 or 2.
2.
Okay. We'll see if I can remember this. Part of the fun with me and a guitar is that I have a really screwed up hand that doesn't work right. So I tend to come up with things in lots of different tunings, but I didn't want to bring like 5 guitars. So we'll see what I can do with 2 fingers, I guess. We'll do it. This is an old song, but it just kind of got stuck in my head. So. You nectarine, you deceive, a variation on the Nicene Creed, but I don't want to taste like that. You're so set to deceive, and then I realize they drink sex on the beaches, shit that tastes like peaches and nectarines. So much for this scene, but I know your poison ain't your pride. And now we're staring at the 7 seas, send me oh my. I just saw you yesterday, and now it's 3-4 times waiting at the door for you. They drink sex on the beaches, shit that tastes like peaches and nectarines. So much for this scene, and I know your poison ain't your pride. So just step inside.
Yeah.
That was actually like a song I wrote that we used in a band called Alma Sub Rosa that was around. That's probably part of why I did all this real ignorant, dissonant stuff at the end, because it's actually a very pretty little coda to the song. One of those. with the excellent Sean Healy doing a gorgeous guitar solo over it. So yeah, that song's like 12, 14, 15 years old probably now. It's weird when you start to look back on all these things and the people you've played with and the stuff you've written and having no idea. I mean, I wrote that song. I think I was living in Portland when I wrote it, and so, I'm young. I'm just fucked up on the beer that my next door neighbor made, the $2 wine from Trader Joe's, and a bunch of Valium, like 24/7, right? So I don't know really what this is about when I'm writing it, right? And then you come back to it years later, and you're like, okay, so that's kind of like telling me a story about myself I needed to know. There's definitely another song I could do later where I'm like, damn, I wrote that about myself before I knew I wrote that about myself. I thought I was writing that about some other loser. I was the loser. But yeah.
Wow. I had a question.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've kind of, dabbled in, trying to write songs and other tunings and stuff, and, it has been successful. But, I mean, I know that you had mentioned before that, like, something with your hand got messed up to where you were tried to start doing things more too. I guess, like, how does, writing in a lot of alternate tunings affect the type of songs that you sort of, write?
Yeah, well, it's really nice for like chord voicings. You start to bring out like extensions of the chords, these extra notes that might not want to be there if you were just using your typical positions in standard tuning, and that's where like the arrangement stuff gets kind of fun. So like on the record I said is coming out this year, there'll be songs where there's 4 different tunings on 4 different guitars, but it's like great, you got the low string tuned down to a C, you have this big rich deep chord, then you can play it up here, then you have something else where like, the high 2 strings are ringing and they're tuned to A and D. Now I'm getting into the theory shit. I was gonna say over a C, and then you have these.
That's good.
But so then by very virtue of that, then you have like in C you have this sound. So you have one guitar just kind of doing like a thing like that. Well, then you can have this other one, filling in that space up there. With those, and there's just it just really allows. Because when I was younger, I wrote a lot of friggin' chords, right? I overdid it. I overplayed. I think it's something that happens when you're young and you kind of settle into what your real sound is. And as I get older, I realize sometimes just following that circle of fifths is fine. You just got to treat it right and make it your own. And that's where like all those extra notes that might not be in there in one tuning can make it more effective, fill it out.
Totally.
Make it your own thing. Because, every song doesn't have, Okay, great. That's every song ever. Now, what, did you put like a weird little in there to make it interesting? Or did you, add or subtract a bit? Whatever that little thing is, like Blaze Foley. There's always a hiccup, right? A good town song will just be like these dire minor chords over and over, but then there's one weird little hiccup. Neil Young's an asshole. He'll be playing a cute little major key song, and then there's always that that shouldn't be there, and that's why it's a Neil Young song.
Right.
So I think like we all kind of, hopefully as writers, have whatever our own little tick is.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
To the point you made earlier about kind of writing tunes to record, like for this song in particular, you said it ended up being for a different group at the time. Where you, like, is that truly wholly how you write? Like you kind of have an overview of a project and then you fill in stuff, or is it more?
With that one, it wouldn't have been simply because of how long ago it was, but yeah, it kind of has settled into that kind of vibe. Now that it's so much easier to record, with digital technology. And being able to like trade files with people, kind of, so like sometimes ahead of time you have the architecture, and sometimes it might just be, okay, I'm just playing this one note over and over, and okay, something's going to come out of that, and then you just build on top of an abstract concept too. So it can go any direction. I think it just depends on the day.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Sure.
Thoughts from folks? Cool. All right, Addison, you want to do it?
I'm up again.
You're up again, just like that.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna consult my book quick. Okay. I guess I can do that. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess another way that I've written a number of my songs is I love dreams, because we don't really consider dreams to be like the real, like like we really like that really happened to us. But I mean, because we're in a dream, I mean that's an actual experience, and those things actually do happen to us. Those are real experiences. So it's like sometimes the weirder, stranger, more vivid, dreams that you have are, the best ways of inspiring a song. Anyway, but I had this really vivid dream, and I won't get into it because I wrote like a whole like long thing on my phone right when I woke up. But essentially, this like I was in the middle of this dream, and then like somebody had referenced this person named Geraldine that I don't even know anybody named Geraldine. I don't know. But then it kind of like I was at work where I honestly end up being the most inspired because I'm just like sitting there with writing utensils and stuff. And
What do you do for work?
oh, I'm a fair housing testing coordinator. So basically, I root out and investigate landlords in the area or housing providers that are discriminating against people, and hopefully bring them to justice for doing so. But yeah, so anyway, I was in the middle of a day, and I'm just like, well, Geraldine, I'll write that into a song. And this is only a few days old, and I did play it live one time at an open mic so far, but this is pretty fresh. And yeah, hopefully, hopefully you guys like it. Oh, Geraldine, tell me about the things you've seen. Why did you fight and die just to be free? My sweet Geraldine. Oh, sweet Geraldine. Bobby says it's quite the scene. Are you out there or only in my dreams? My sweet Geraldine. And it's too early to call your name. You ride behind on your monument of shame. You better die before you get too old, 'cause it takes a lifetime to do what you're told, Geraldine. Oh, Geraldine. Oh, Geraldine. Oh, Geraldine. Oh, sweet Geraldine, are you tied to the machine? I'm on the corner on the fields of green. Can you see me, Geraldine? Oh, sweet Geraldine, why'd you go to the extreme? You're so busy on the silver screen, being someone that you've never been. And it's too early for to call your name. You ride behind on your monument of shame. You better die before you get too old, 'cause it takes a lifetime to do what you're told, Geraldine. Oh, Geraldine. Oh, Geraldine. Oh, Geraldine. Oh, sweet Geraldine, take a breath and talk to me. Oh, sweet Geraldine, take a breath and talk to me. Talk to me, Geraldine. Oh, Geraldine. Oh, Geraldine. Oh, Geraldine. Oh, Geraldine. Thanks.
That was a lovely tune.
Oh, dude, thank you, man.
The thing I appreciate most about that one was the structure. That B section came in real smooth, and then that kind of last section there, the build up to that was really, really nice. How often do you find yourself thinking about that kind of structure while you're writing? Like, do you go, okay, I have a song, I need an A section, a B section, and a C section, or do you just kind of let it roll out?
Well, yeah. Honestly, I don't know. It usually depends, but most of the time I try to structure just like verses. I usually try to get the lyrics first, and then whatever structure the lyrics take, that's sort of what form the chords will take with that. So like usually I'll try to at least get, at least a couple verses and like figure out, how lyrically that can blend into, like a refrain or a chorus or something like that. And then, if there's a bridge or not, cool. But then, yeah, usually I just come up with the chords based on the structure of the lyrics.
So do words usually come first then?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, usually
Okay.
words will come first. Otherwise, like if I am like, if I have like an earworm of a riff or something that I, maybe then I'll like structure a song music first. But most of the time it's,
Cool.
lyrics
Like
first.
lyrics and melody, or do you do melody once you get the chords? And
I
the
usually have to figure out the melody afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of the same with like I usually don't know what a song is about until it's done, kind of like what Bob was
Right.
saying.
So you just kind of have like your cadence, and then the chords or riffs
Yeah,
start
and
coming out of
then-
that.
Yeah, it'll kind of just you just got to kind of rely on your gut for
Sure.
For when you're coming up with the melodies.
Are
and
you
stuff.
are you writing like, are you counting syllables and all that good stuff, or do you just kind of put words down and then make it happen?
It depends. Again, like a lot of times no, but I mean there are certain songs where like at least with the there needs to be that same sort. Some songs I appreciate have like building it off of having like structure like that where I'm counting syllables, and you know, and all that good stuff. But yeah, it honestly really depends on if the tune is calling for it, or if the tune is loose enough to where I don't have to do that. That's great. Otherwise, like if a song is structured like that, I'll usually have to be very disciplined while I'm working on it, just to make sure that that's, you know, that it's correct, essentially.
Comments, questions, concerns? Yeah, well, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, maybe not. There it is.
Hey,
Approved.
there we go. Okay. So you said when you write songs that you usually are inspired by something. Does it always have to be that way, or can you you're like, I want to write a song about X, Y, Z, and then you build it around that?
For sure. Yeah, no, thanks, Will. Will also is a local musician. He's a good buddy of ours. We love Will. It really depends. Sometimes, like, if I'm feeling inspired to write, I won't even, like, be inspired to write about... Most of the time, I'm not even inspired to write about anything specific. I'm just sort of inspired to just write whatever... Like, I don't know, it's like this sort of, like, weird light bulb or, like, sort of, like, light switch thing that happens in my brain where I just, I'm just like, all right, I feel like writing right now. And it doesn't have to be about anything specific. Most of the time, it's not about anything specific at all. But there are a lot of times where, like, I'm not feeling inspired and I'm, like, maybe, like, in a rut or something. And I'm just like, all right, I'm just going to write because I want to get out of this. And then, like, just that usually takes a bit more brain power to try to, you know, get a song down that way than it is to just let inspiration sort of take over. So, yeah. Yeah, thanks for your question.
I like the droning E throughout.
Thanks.
No, just those little things, you know?
Right.
Yeah, because you totally could have just been... And it would have way different effect
Totally.
than keeping that in there.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, I definitely like experimenting with different voicings of chords for sure. And I usually, at least now, I'm starting to really try to incorporate that a little bit more in what I write. So thank you.
Yeah, those walks too, or whatever you want to call them.
Sure,
You were stretching out there. Those are some really fun chords. Yeah, that bit's really nice. Love that.
Thanks.
Yeah. Cool. Any other thoughts for Addison here, quick? Lovely. Bob.
Right.
Let's do it.
It's not Eyes of the World, though, Addison. Other songs have an E major 7 in them.
There's no other songs besides Grateful Dead. So.
Okay, there's a drummer in this room who'll recognize this one, I think. This is actually, geez, I wrote this in like pre 9/11 2001. I lived kitty corner from a bar in Iowa City, and one night there was just this dude who was just annoying and there by himself, and I was like, just get out of here, man, just get out. And so this song just came out of that. But then it's like, oh yeah, I was probably that person 90% of the time down there too. Shit. What do you know, man? Write about what you know, all right? You're tending the lonely years, being 14 provinces, forked tongue spits out venomous adjectives, spread every wonder room. Why you alone? And why don't you go home? You're hugging the table, lying to faces. Each night it's the same. This laughing Stacy we're repeating ourselves and locking doors to rooms where it's light and warm. And while you wait around, why don't you go?
Woo. Yeah.
And that's a song.
The pacing on that tune is so patient. I always admire that.
Thanks.
Especially doing stuff live, it's so easy to just rush the hell out of
Yeah.
everything, you know?
Well, Geraldine got me into mellow mode.
Yeah, there you go.
know?
There you go.
Piggybacking off that vibe.
Do you, writing a tune like that, do you have ideas for like further instrumentation, or is
Oh, yeah.
is it mostly okay? Cool.
Yeah, so I wrote it 20 odd years ago. Did it in a band with Mr. John Eagle back there, decade plus ago. But then it's going to be on this record that's coming out this year.
Oh, nice.
Because some of the stuff, it's like I'm writing in the studio, and other stuff, it's like, oh, this has been sitting around forever. Let's see what we can do with it. So yeah, that like the arrangement on that, I don't even think there's a guitar in it till the second verse. It just starts out with like keyboards playing ascending and descending lines against each other, just kind of picking out little parts, So like, because you're basically the two chords, it's like a diminished seven, whatever, and kind of doing what Addison's doing, where I'm just leaving the E
that
present. So you might have like one, So against each chord, those ascending things, and then you have this descending. Mirrored, so it's the wrong one on the different chord.
Right.
So then you get all these kind of like Addisons, like, those kind of extensions.
Right.
So yeah, it's about, like basically I'm just playing like these little skeletons that house the songs, and they just end up being whatever myself or other musicians put into them.
Nice.
Like when I work with other people, I never ask for anything, because I know if I'm asking them to be there, they will do exactly what the song needs,
Okay.
and it'll be a better idea than I would have had. So,
Cool.
That's a thing too. It's like the people you collaborate with and what they can add and what they hear to bring more things out. And then that's also a job I really enjoy doing, like working with other songwriters and doing kind of arrangement
Yeah.
stuff.
Right.
So yeah.
So when you sat down with that one, did you kind of have like an idea for the song, or did you sit down with a guitar and that's how this?
Yeah, I'm
came
pretty
about?
sure that was just me sitting in my apartment, just
Right.
hitting those chords,
Cool.
and just kind of coming out in real time.
Right.
Like Addison was saying, there's not a lot of times I write something that takes more than that hour or 10 hours. You're sitting there doing it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool.
I really like in songwriting when you can come up with like something that sort of just breaks apart the entire song, and then like you're able to like resolve back into it, sort of like that. You're doing like a sort of like one note bend.
Yeah,
in
right.
that
bendy
was
riff
like
is
that
sweet.
was like that riff just sort of
Yeah. It's
makes the song just sort of dissolve and then reform again, which is a really really cool.
Thanks. Yeah, it's kind of like superimposing different chords, because that's just kind of this ringing A sauce, which has enough of E in it anyway, and then but you have the like flat fifth kind of thing of,
And that's
which is like in E while the A chord's happening. So I guess that's like the suspension that resolves back to the, meat of the song.
Right. That's like that signature thing you were talking about.
Yeah,
kind of finding those moments to make it yours. Like that.
Yeah.
That felt like one of those moments
Cool.
to me, at least.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Yes. Hello, Rachel. Mm-hmm.
So I'm not a songwriter, but I get the idea of theory as a really rich possibility, and you keep like, I don't want to go in there because that's too nerdy or something, but I wouldn't mind if you nerded out just for a second.
Sure.
Do you ever use theory? So I do visual art, and I find myself liking this, especially as I get older, like taking things like theory and messing with it, and even if what happens isn't a composition that I'm going to keep, but I mess in it, and it's super fun, and I love it. And so can you tell a story, or do you have something like that where, I sit down and I do this, and it's super cool, and then it shows up in this way?
Right. I mean, just in like kind of, it sounds like talking about kind of process-oriented stuff, right? Like kind of, like you said, like it doesn't always end up where you're starting from, but I like the idea of like imposing parameters on a concept. So sometimes that can be done through like a stylistic element or a theoretical element. And maybe you end up bursting outside of that once it really takes on a life of its own. But yeah, like, okay, I can only work within these constructs is the beginning of how it's going to happen. So a song like that, was more about, like we were talking about, like with the turnaround, like what do I do with just writing in a single key diatonically, but still make everything sound really loose, very amorphous. There's, it doesn't really root itself in anything until you hear like that one chord. And so those are kind of like exercises and prompts I'll give myself. So yeah, I think that's kind of in the vein of what you're saying. And yeah, as I get older also, it does, when I was young, it was like, okay, you got to do everything all at once, all the time. And now it's more like, okay, how do I do this thing that I appreciate? And then maybe it's going to become mine down the road too. Yeah.
Yeah, I find myself as a songwriter often like I get myself into trouble when I'm always trying to break a rule. I'm trying to like write songs just to break the rules, and I think, the more songs I write, the more I realize, oh, I need to follow the rules first, and then pick a couple maybe.
It makes it easier to break if you know them too.
Right.
That's
absolutely.
always a plus. You get where you want to go quicker if you know like the proper way to do it, and then want to skirt it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
How do you know when and where to bridge in a song?
To put a bridge.
It's a
I
great
mean,
question.
like I guess that's like kind of like a process question too with writing, because like if I'm thinking I'm writing a song as opposed to a more abstract or improvisational thing, I think you walk into it like, okay, verse, bridge, chorus out. And then from there you might reassemble it to have different parts. But yeah, a lot of times it seems like the bridge is going to come in if there's like 3 verses after the second one or something, right? Like after a chorus. Wow. What do you think, Addison? Like for theme? I think what's interesting about it from my ear is that a lot of times a bridge you'll switch keys or infer that you're switching keys. It kind of takes on, like you said, its own vibe, its own life if it's a well-written one, before going back to where you started. So it's kind of lifting you out, and then the end of it directs you back in.
Sure. Yeah. No. I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, at least from my own writing experience, I've found that putting a bridge. I usually add a bridge into a song if like you're staying on like one. So you always like start off a song with like a certain vibe or a certain style, and if I feel like a bridge is a nice way, like if the theme of the song is maybe about to get a little monotonous, then having a bridge as a hook is like a nice way to keep not only whoever you're performing for engaged, but also keep yourself engaged so that you're not like boring yourself and you're keeping yourself on your toes
Right.
with the song.
Well, yeah, like you said, a good bridge does have its own hook too. I mean, Elvis Costello was great at that, but also like you were jamming it the other day, Jayhawks, Blue.
Yeah.
Like that ascends to a whole other deal for this seemingly unnecessary bridge because
Yeah.
it's so catchy that you could just play the chorus for 2
Right.
days and no one would complain.
Right.
You know, so yeah, like a really good bridge, like adds a whole new element.
Yeah, it's almost like introducing a new song within the song you're playing.
Right.
You know? Yeah, yeah. It's sort of like having like a tangential thought, but then somehow finding a way to tie it back into what you were talking about before. You know. Yeah.
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 True. Yeah, things don't have to stay in a prescribed place at all. A lot of times I'm not even thinking like ABC type forms so much as, what necessitates needing to happen. But again, having that background in, okay, this is how it usually is, I think
Right.
allows you to escape it when you need to. And then I think after a while you learn sometimes not to escape it. Like sometimes, okay, that resolving chord it needs to be there. Like when I was young, it'd be more like, okay, I got to mess that up somehow. And sometimes, you got to just lay back and go with it.
Totally.
Cool. Sweet. Addison?
Yeah, cool. Sweet. I've just gotta say I'm really, really enjoying talking to you guys about this. Man.
fun.
This is
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
I don't know. I guess another song I could do. I was thinking about if I should play any of the first songs that I ever wrote, and I kind of landed on yeah, sure, I'll try.
Yeah. Dicky Birds.
I don't know. But yeah, so I guess I don't know. This song is called Wilson Valley, and it was the first song that I ever wrote that I after I was done writing it, I was pretty happy with how it turned out. I don't know how long ago was that. My mom's here, by the way. How long ago was that? When I was 16 or something. 16, 17. Or something. I was in high school. But anyway, yeah, so there's again, with a lot of my songs, there's a lot of words. So hopefully, there's a bridge in this song. So
Watch out for that.
watch out for that. So anyway, Wilson Valley. Servants set the table and tunneled under with a spoon, and awoke to find that she was mine at 5 in the afternoon. I practiced with the pairs. Oh, hold on. Sorry, I messed up. Can I restart? Is that all right? All right, cool. The servants set the table and tunneled under with a spoon, and awoke to find that she was mine at 5 in the afternoon. She built me up into the sun as I fell down with the rain. It was new to me at some degree. I would not return again. So I flew among the targets and the archers with their bows. They missed their shots, but they forgot the curses they'd been bestowed. So I braced myself for burden, and I carried that heavy load towards the town of Wilson Valley, Lord, as I stumble down the road. my body, it grew weary with the footsteps that I strode. Wet and dry as I found my eyes passing down the road. I practiced with the peasants that I met along the way, who were always forced to work the land each and every day. The weight on me grew heavy with everything that I owned, as they tried me on the cutting board where I laid there all alone. So I rambled to the river where the crystal waters flowed, towards the town of Wilson Valley, Lord, as I stumbled down the road. Then along came hell's delinquent that brought me to the edge. He was spitting rhyme in 4/4 time with every word he said. I turned my eyes to face him, but his mouth was open wide. So he grabbed my veins and took the reins and wheeled me on inside. He placed me on the doorpost where he lit his cigarettes, till the room awoke to a wall of smoke that was filled with past regret. So I ran and I ran from his long dark hands as quick as I could go, towards the town of Wilson Valley, Lord, as I stumble down the road. Well, upon the bridge of mercy I steal away, brought down by all the burdens I have laid. My face on full display, an elaborate bouquet. And I pray, Wilson Valley, I'm on my way. I'm on my way. At the gates of passage, my legs could hardly stand, as droplets laced my sunken face and turned it into sand. Shadows leap from behind the sky, they're closer than they seem. Shall I awake to seek my fate, or vanish into the dream? I've left all those behind me, they're preparing for the show, as I venture forth into the north where it grows time to go. So I'm off to where the suns are shining, where the streets are made of gold, towards the town of Wilson Valley, Lord, as I stumble down the road. I'm off to where the suns are shining, where the streets are made of gold, towards the town of Wilson Valley, Lord, as I stumble down the road. Stumble down the road. Stumble down the road. Thanks.
Sweet tune.
Thanks, James.
You talked about a bridge during your bridge.
Yeah, I actually thought about that immediately when I sang that bridge. I'm just like, wow, the first word of the bridge is bridge.
Classic. How long ago would that have been? You said like 2018-ish? When you, like, how deep into playing guitar were you, do you think?
I was probably, I don't know, maybe I had a couple, 2-3 years.
Nice.
As far as songwriting goes, I'd maybe been trying to write songs for maybe a year
Cool.
or two.
Yeah. The I love about your playing. You can tell you've played a lot solo because you use the acoustic guitar in particular like a percussion instrument. You keep like you've got the rhythm section in there too, which I really admire. That really carries a song like that. It's cool to see that.
Thank you.
Do you think about that much? Like outside of strum pattern, how much are you thinking about like the chug or the feel of the tune as you're writing it?
I don't know if I really think about it a lot. I know I feel it afterwards because I start sweating a lot, and I'm like sometimes after I play like for a long time by myself, I start getting sore. So I kind of forget. I don't know. I tend to just kind of let the song take over, and I just sort of start moving and
We call that
beating.
locking in.
Yeah,
Lock in.
locking in. But yeah, I usually I mean I don't really think about it a ton. Usually I've always kind of just felt it just kind of came natural.
Nice.
Just that, yeah. I hit my guitar really hard.
Yeah. So there's not like necessarily strum patterns that you rely on. It's just kind of what feels right for you for
Right.
the tune.
Yep,
Cool.
Yep, exactly.
Very cool.
Thanks. Oh man, well thank you. Thanks for being here, Leo.
Thoughts at all, folks? Anything? Do you? Do you?
Do I write any songs that are under 2 minutes and 58 seconds? Why would I do that?
He's got stories to tell, man.
Yeah.
they're long ones.
I shouldn't say that. I mean, I've got some songs that can take 3 minutes. But I usually I don't know. If I take the time to write a song, I want to say whatever the song needs to say. And a lot of times for me that means it's going to be a minimum of 5. So.
Do you ever find yourself writing like 2 verses to a tune that you really like, and you have a good chorus, and then you leave it there, or does that feel unsatisfying to you?
It can happen sometimes. I mean, with the song Geraldine that I played a little bit ago, that was one where I was fairly happy with just having that be it. If I don't know, I think like Tom Petty had this like saying of like like something about like writing the chorus for it was like very catchy and hokey, and I can't really think of it now, but essentially like coming up with a good chorus and then like maybe singing that like 5 times but only having like 1 or 2 verses. That's sometimes all you need to get a good song out. But yeah, I don't know. I have and I will continue to write here and there songs that only have limited words, but I don't know. I like to. I don't know. I kind of use again the music as a sort of poetic vehicle instead of necessarily trying to write something that people are gonna hum to themselves. I kind of just it's sort of selfish, but I usually just do it for me first and then think about changes afterwards.
Do you read much poetry, or is a lot of your poetry inspired by songwriting in particular?
Oh, that's a good one. Both, yeah. No, I mean, I love reading I mean, I've got, stacks and stacks and shelves of poetry at home, and I write a lot of poetry as a result. And then, yeah, I mean, there are certain songwriters out there, too, that I really have an affinity towards that are themselves poets. First and foremost, I would consider them poets before being a songwriter, like, somebody like Tom Waits, for example. He is just a straight, just like mean industrial beatnik poet. And some of the lyrics that he has they're not meant to be, hooks that'll always stay with you. It's meant to just like kind of make you uneasy and make you, to sort of think, which is what what good poetry is supposed to do. But yeah, I mean, that's so kind of both, I guess, would be the short the short answer of that.
Cool. Bob, got one more for us?
Oh, okay. I was afraid you were going to ask me if I had any thoughts. That could have been disruptive. Close enough for jazz. This is from an album I recorded with a friend years ago called I Did What I Could With What I Had, which was kind of the vibe we were living at the time. And this is kind of like like a religious song, like called Bleach Bones in the Valley. If anyone is familiar with old bluegrass songs, there's a song called Dry Bones in the Valley that's about the Book of Enoch. I don't know. I'm getting too esoteric. I don't know.
No, right.
But
where did this one occur? So we have Portland, Iowa City, and then
I woke up in an off-brand motel in Mount Vernon, Iowa.
Nice.
And I woke up with my arms crossed like this, and for a moment there, I kind of thought I was dead. So I had this song popped in my head as the response to that. So, and factoring in all these bits of bluegrass and John Fahey and everything into that, saw the light come shine around the bend idea. And so it's like, I know where I stand, it's on the right hand of a Lord who won't let me sleep. I was on the verge when I heard the word that cast me off into the deep. I know where I stand, it's by the backhand of a Lord who won't let me be. My soul's so proud, the chorus so loud, the singing to let me be. Oh, you drink that $2 wine. You know the strawberry kind. And either way, it's cherry bound. I keep all secrets in mind. So that's like 90% bridge.
Nice.
And under 258, I believe.
Yeah,
Addison.
easy.
Economy.
I asked Addison before, but I'll ask you the same thing. Kind of, how much does influence come into your mind as you're writing often, or do you find it kind of just creeps in?
I mean, I guess it just kind of creeps in, like you don't even know what's your driving force a lot of the times, Like you said, like stuff that you grew up with that you've forgotten about for 30 years, but maybe that's in the back of your head anyway. Or sometimes I like to go the whole other route and be like, okay, I'm going to write a song that sounds like this song. And since obviously I'm inherently not going to write like that person wrote, it's going to turn into its own song. Like, do the Rocky Aronson thing. Turn the TV on, put 2 stereos on. Everything's all these sounds at once. Helps with the ADD. I don't know. And then something comes out of that that's your own, right? So, yeah.
I thought that I was the only one that did that.
It doesn't mean you're. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Okay, but it's okay.
And then lyrically, I guess for you as well, you said you sit down and make the song. Is it just kind of pen to paper, free flow? Yeah.
Yeah. I let it direct itself, really.
Okay.
You know, like maybe you'll touch stuff up later, you know, in post or whatever, as it were. But
Right.
yeah, really, it's just kind of what's coming out at that moment.
Sure.
Because, you know, like I said earlier, a lot of times I don't really realize what I might have been trying to say till way later. Totally. You know.
So the structure of the lyricism isn't necessarily your focus while it's happening. It's just how it feels or how it sounds more
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, like a song like that where it's not really following the verse chorus kind of thing we were talking about earlier, so much as like these distinct parts kind of speaking themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and sometimes you rein that in and you give it more structure. Other times you just kind of let it run its course.
Right.
You know.
And for you, do you find that it's a maybe an instrumental part first and then lyrics and vocals?
Yeah,
or the
I
other
usually
way
I
around?
usually start with instruments. Yeah. Yeah, instruments, melodic fragments come up, and that's just, it's almost syllabic
Right.
more than, you know, and as those little pieces of the melody and the syllables start to form words, you know, it's kind of, I think I picked that up just from like listening to lots of Syd Barrett and stuff where, you know, it's borderline nonsense until it starts making sense.
Right.
You know.
Do you find yourself, especially now that we've talked about digital recording as well, do you find yourself kind of doing like a quick digital recording where you just kind of throw in syllables and random melodies to kind of help write?
I don't actually. Yeah, I still don't apply that. Like I have over 200 phone notes. I think we were talking about that,
Classic,
Addison.
yeah, same.
You know, but like how often do I think to go through them before it's time to record something? And so
Right.
there's so much. You know, we all have a lot of ideas, don't we?
Sure do.
And it's interesting that some of them get formed and some don't. Because I don't think there's a great amount of logic to it, you know. Like the best thing you ever wrote in your life is probably on your phone and you'll forget it was there. Yeah, it's kind of like what I like about like obscure music. Like, oh, somewhere there was a garage band in the 60s that made a single with one good song on it. And I want to know that exists. I want to know that's out there. I want to know that there's people doing stuff in their basements that's amazing and beautiful. Maybe they don't even share it with anyone. But like those things are happening somewhere.
Yeah.
And I like to put that on the shelf right next to like the Beatles and everything else.
Sure. Yeah, I guess in that context too, in along the lines of you recording for records or tapes or whatever it is, are you thinking about music commercially in that sense, or do you just think of it more as like a canvas?
It's like Addison said, it's selfish. We're all selfish doing this, right? I mean, self-expression inherently is.
Yeah.
You know, I've never really put like a commercial design on any of it. When I think about, like, if I actually have physical, like a record coming out, like I'm writing for it to come out, then I start thinking about things in terms of an album as opposed to individual songs.
Right.
You know, that construction, the whole arc of all of it becomes very important. But that is totally up to, you know, change as well.
Sure.
You know.
So I guess part of what I'm asking is when you're writing, you're not necessarily concerned with the audience at all. That's not the,
no. I feel like that really only matters when you're performing, and then even then you can take a lot of stances on it. You know, like before the pandemic, I used to tour a lot. Like, and you know, you do 200 shows a year. You learn how to like manipulate a room essentially. And you can either bring people in or you can alienate them or you can do, you know, whatever that night's speaking to you or the situation around it. When you're in, you know, like Kalispell, Montana or something, you know, am I going to bring it home or am I going to fuck with people or what's going to, you know, but like in that sense, well, because like playing live, you know, like you're communicating with people in real time and you're just part of it. You're not the whole thing, you know. The room is part of it. The audience is part of it. It's all this collective thing, and that's what I really enjoy about playing live versus studio, is that it forces you into that sphere. It forces those selfish notions you have to try to resonate and connect with like other humans, and You know, and a lot of times it does, because all the stuff we're feeling is like the same stuff everyone's feeling.
Right.
You know, and it's generally sad stuff. And that's how you
So
get.
let's
And that's how you
talk
get it
about
out
it.
of there. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I guess a question then for you and Addison both, as songwriters, and you've both discussed how efficient your songwriting process is, and we talked just a little bit about practicing as well. Do you think you find yourself doing more writing than practicing, or is it about even, or
More writing.
more writing?
Definitely
I
more
feel
writing.
like for me, and I guess it's because like I haven't played guitar much in years. Like every instrument is a conduit to create what you're trying to make. So if it's horns, if it's bass, drums, whatever I have to utilize, you know, scrap, you know, like literally percussion from a landfill, or whatever it takes to get that sound that you need to get. So it all like starts there and goes outwards. So like that is practicing in a way. Like writing a song is practicing the instrument you're writing it on and your technique as a songwriter.
Have you found any percussive things at a landfill?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Landfill drums? That sounds
That's cool.
fun.
Yeah, no, we did a record up in Minneapolis with Darren Brown, who has like a long-running project and called Boy Dirt Car, and he walked out behind the place we were recording, pulls in this like 8-foot-long sheet of scrap metal, sets it down, gives me some drumsticks. Okay, so you're the hi-hat. And the for like 5 minutes.
That's so cool.
That's fun.
Yeah,
I really
still
like
hurts
that.
right here from that. Yeah, yeah. So there's your answer to that one, Addison. A sad yes.
Next time you go out there, let me know. Yeah, I mean, I completely, yeah, I'm in the same boat. I compulsively write. I mean, it's almost become, like, I don't even really, besides, like, times like this where I'm talking to, you know, other songwriters about it, like, I really never think about it. It's just, it's the same thing with, like, if somebody asks me, oh, like, who are you? What do you like to do? Like, I never
Right.
tell them I play guitar, because it's just, like, at this point, it's like, you know, I don't know. It's just as, you know, it's normal for me as, like, eating dinner, you know. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, I've got, you know, like Bob was saying before, like hundreds and hundreds of, you know, voice memos on my phone of like completed songs, ideas, you know, drawers and drawers full of like just filled notebooks, and most of which are, you know, probably just complete and utter nonsense. But it's like, you know, there's always like this one thing where it's like, oh, that little scrap, like, it had like, you know, you dig through it, and it's like, I mean, I moved into a new place like a couple of years ago, and I was going through like, you know, a bunch of the stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, like there's some really good ideas in
Weird
there.
when you find the winners that you thought sucked when
Yeah,
you wrote them.
yeah, and then you put them away, and you find, I mean, that's just, you know, I
Sometimes
think.
you have to spend a little time apart from yourself as well.
Yeah, no,
Seriously,
100%.
Like,
Yeah, 100%.
you know, where something like resonates in a way that was maybe a little too close.
Yeah,
at
and
the
sometimes,
time.
yeah, and it's
And
like, you
then
know,
you can-
I
yeah.
have a firm belief too that's like, you know, everything that you write down with intention, like even if it doesn't connect with you afterwards, like at a certain point in your whole, you know,
Yeah.
expanse of your timeline that you're here on the planet, you know, it's like it's gonna connect with you at some point.
Yeah.
And it's not just, you know, being written down just to be, you know.
You said it for a reason.
Yeah, there's a
somehow,
reason.
Even if you don't know.
Yeah, you know, even though there, you know, in the present moment there might not have felt like there was intentionality behind it at some point, you know. Anyway, that was you know, totally other tangent we could go on there, but yeah, it's almost just a compulsion at this point. It's just, you know, writing and writing and writing and writing.
I guess kind of piggybacking off that then, I guess, do you guys find yourself doing any writing for the purpose of performance necessarily, or is most of it just extremely personal, and then there's some you kind of pick and choose to share with people?
I would say at least, you know, most of my stuff, you know, comes from, you know, for me, you know, but there are, you know, tunes here and there that I wrote specifically to be fun, you know, maybe not to necessarily be fun, just to like be like, all right, well, this is going to be a song for when I'm on stage next week, people are going to love this one. I never think of things in that way. But I usually do think about things in a way where like, oh yeah, well, this song has kind of a fun vibe to it. So I'll just write it and make it sound fun. And that, you know, everybody likes to have fun. So it's like when that song is played, people are having fun, you know. Yeah, but as far as writing something specifically to be performed on a stage, I mean, it's ultimately your decision of if you want to perform that on the stage or not. And I mean, those songs will exist regardless of if they're performed or not.
Right. Well, it kind of comes down to like the difference between like being a performer, being a musician, and you can be one, the other, or both in any given circumstance. And if you're a performer, like then you're directly communicating this concept to the audience, right? Like, that would usually be like, okay, we're doing 3 45-minute sets tonight, boys. Then that's like performing, that's entertaining. Right. Like I feel like if I play in a bar, I'm a contracted drink salesman at that point, right? And that's good and bad, depending on what you're doing. And especially when I started like touring with a lot of like weird jazz ensemble stuff, we'd be like, okay, we'll play in art galleries, we'll play in, warehouses, basements, whatever, because that's just for music and is not going to sell drinks.
Yeah.
And so it's about kind of knowing where to fit into the scheme of things, I guess, too. But there's definitely, they're different disciplines, and there's really something to be said for both.
Right. And that's just interesting because I know there's a lot of folks that I've met or really successful bands who it seems like their philosophy to write for performance, to write songs to play out. So it's just interesting to me to hear different perspectives from folks like that because I think you can be successful at both. But yeah, the bedroom stuff is really my passion as well. That stuff that might never see the light of day.
Yeah, and even just like, if it's never played for anybody but you, it's like it still exists, and just the knowledge that song exists is enough,
Well, sweet. Any other thoughts, questions, comments from anybody? Lovely. All right, fellas. Yeah. Thank y'all for coming out. Appreciate you much.
Thank you, James.
Addison, Aronson, Bob Bucko Jr. Check them out. Thanks everybody for stopping down. Stick around, have a drink. Happy St. Patty's Day. Also, forgot about that. Go Irish people. Eat some potatoes. Grab some food. Tip your bartenders. Everybody have a fantastic night. Thank you very much.